And salutations, I'm Gil.
And I'm Gil, and this is Strategic Prepper.
Hey, I'm with Karl Erickson with Tactical Rifleman. We're here in Plaquemine, Florida, RCPT USA. We both just jumped out of the C-47. We got a C-47 Tico Bell down here. A real World War II aircraft?
Yeah, it's actually a museum piece. They roll it out of museum a couple times a year for events like this. It did the D-Day invasion, Operation Market Garden, a bunch of actual combat jumps. It was also involved in the Berlin airlift, and another big part of American history overseas. And yeah, awesome stuff. But we got the jump. I actually got the jump master this thing.
Yep.
It was a good time to do.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. And this is actually take two. I'll roll in some footage of the other time we're actually sitting in the Tico Bell, and I lost all the audio. Yeah, so we just kind of restart. So, obviously the channel name Strategic Prepper. We're in the preparedness community. And you've been somewhat involved with that as well.
Yep.
So what's the biggest gap that you've seen in the
Biggest gap is just focus on the basics, and what I mean by that is everybody thinks guns right away, and then it's like, well, I've got to have freeze-dried food and cases of MREs, but the reality is I want you to take a step back and look at where is that actual emergency going to be, and the odds are we just had ice storms. I live in Western Kentucky. We had ice storms right before Christmas. We had that bad tornado that came through. There was actually two tornadoes. The first one passed about a mile north of my house. The other one passed about 2 miles south of my house. And whether you're down on the coast and it's hurricanes, thunderstorms, ice storms, we lost. We just lost power for a while because of ice storms that came in. So the likelihood of natural disasters happening is much worse than the zombie apocalypse or EMP. And I know the big talk now is Putin's threatening the world with EMP. I got that. I'm not saying don't be prepared, worst case scenario, but let's be prepared for most likely scenario first. So, I encourage people to go back to the basics. You've got shelter, air, all right, and then you get in food, water, everything else. Okay, medical, but people miss up just when I mentioned shelter. Well, but Karl, I'll be in my house. Yeah, but if that bad thunderstorm rips off part of your roof, do you have the tarps and the batteries charged and the nail guns and everything? Because the reality is, my wife and kids aren't getting up the ladder to help me. They're going to watch me get up there, but I need to be able to be prepared to do that myself. So backup electricity to recharge my batteries, but having all that stuff ahead of time, it makes life a lot easier. It really is.
Yeah. So follow-up question, kind of a two-part question.
Yep.
Right now, big talk about the prep community is Ukraine. Right? How worried should people be about Ukraine, and then follow-up question would be about Canada.
Well, Ukraine in general, the problem with Ukraine is everybody thinks, well, this is going to blow up into World War III. The likelihood of that is very, very unlikely. I don't even fathom it. I don't know. Everybody's praying for the zombie apocalypse. Don't pray for war, guys. Pray for peace. Prepare, but don't pray. Please don't pray for war. That said, Ukraine, what's happening there right now is an excellent opportunity for us to see all the Russian tactics and what worked and what doesn't work. Because the reality is, we've been at war for over 20 years now, and that's exactly what the Iranians, the Chinese, the Russians, the North Koreans have been doing. They have been sitting back quietly watching us, watching how our equipment performs, watching how our tactics have changed. And so they are prepared for conventional war a lot better than us. If you think about it, even our armored units have been fighting an insurgency against cavemen for the last 20 years. So they haven't been doing cold weather training. They haven't been doing a lot of conventional stuff. So if you drive by any big military base right now, you hear a lot of artillery, and I have Fort Campbell right near my house. So the Apaches are out doing 30 millimeter chain gun runs all night long because they're getting ready in case our military has to fight a conventional war. We have to play catch up right now. Honest, don't get worked up about Ukraine. Sit back, laugh at the Russians, cheer on the Ukrainians, right? But this is a time where you need to be taking notes. The partisans, the insurgents in Ukraine, what mistakes are they making Because chances are, if you had to fight to defend your neighborhood, your state, your nation, right? Because remember, my job as a Green Beret is to lead insurgents behind enemy lines, but that's in their country. Job of our Green Berets, I pray they never have to do it, but if they have to lead us behind American lines, I want you prepared, ready to fight alongside these young Green Berets. So learn from the mistakes the Ukrainians are making. As far as Canada goes, literally the biggest problem with Canada is they are a lot more socialist than we are, because they've slowly given up their liberties for safety. And unfortunately, that's the problem. That's the future. I hate to say it, our little brother up north, that's the way America's going if we don't start to act. And I'm not saying the boogaloo, you're not going to take back the government. You're not. What you need to do is educate your neighbors to your left and right. We need to get socialism out of our education system, and we need to vote. Right? So watch Canada, but don't take it too personal.
All right, so let's see where we're at. One last question, kind of a more of a fun question. So, SHTF happens, let's say the big one. If you could have one gun, what would that be?
One gun. You guys, if you know my background, I spent most of my time behind an SR-25 Mark 11 as a sniper supporting the assault force. So everybody thinks I would pick 308. Honest, guys, I would pick my 5.56 gun simply because the planet is pretty well carpeted with 5.56. You can go anywhere and find 5.56 ammo. So worst case scenario, zombie apocalypse, I'm going to go with 5.56. My gun, I've got data on it. It's still a very effective system out 400 or 500 meters. It really is. The 5.56 gun round has still got good terminal ballistics inside the body. It's going to be a lot better than a pistol. And I know a lot of people are like, well, pistol easier to conceal.
Yeah, that was kind of mine.
I know, and I'm not saying it's not. Right? I carry a pistol when I'm not expecting trouble. I actually had a preacher ask me that once in church. He said, Karl, are you expecting trouble? I see you're carrying a pistol. My silver shirt was printing. No, if I was expecting trouble, I would have brought my rifle. That's real life. It is a sidearm for the military for that reason. An AR taken apart literally will fit in a very, very small book bag. But if I'm expecting any trouble at all, that puppy is going to be locked up, gassed up, slung. I'll have a suppressor in the bag. Right? Don't plan on using it. But I, of course, will have nods, night vision, IR, because I'm a big fan of cheating. There's no cheating in combat, guys. Use every technological advantage you can. As far as optics, I'm big on my EOTech. You guys know I love EOTech. Great combat optic, but zombie apocalypse, end of the world, I can only have one gun. I would go with a good 1 to 8 variable, like my primary arms platinum series with the Griffin mill reticle. That allows me to use the mill reticle for my data, my holdovers for engaging at distance, but I can still dial it down to 1 power, turn on that red dot, and I can still burn targets down inside the house. Not as good in CQB as the EOTech, but a lot better at 400 or 500 meters.
All right, one last thing. If you would sign my jump log since you're a jump master.
All right. Ooh, what's this? You already made notes?
Yeah. Figure you're the first one out. You don't know what happened.
I was going to write that he did a sloppy parachute landing fall, but since you took my notes,
well, mine not sloppy. I got a
pleasure.
Appreciate it.
You take care.
Stay safe, stay prepared.
Y'all check out my YouTube channel, Tactical Rifleman.